Hey guys, Mr. Decker here. This is Unit 2 of the Code.org curriculum, Lesson 17 on CSS classes. Just a reminder that CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. So we're going to be playing with style today. Let's get into it. Our computer science standards for this lesson are incorporate existing code, media, and libraries into original programs and give attribution. Systematically test and refine programs using a range of test cases, and documenting programs in order to make them easier to follow, test, and debug. That debug step, that's so important, right? And testing too, that's also important. And then when we're talking about making programs easier to follow, this part, we're talking about organizing your code. Right? And then it makes this part and this part so much easier because you did this step, right? Okay. Essential question is, how can we create different styles for the same type of element? Well, if we look back at what we're talking about when we say the word element with HTML and CSS programming, we're talking about like the H1 tag. That header is an element, or an image or image tag on my website. That's an element on my page. An element is something that you can see on the website. And in your programming language, HTML and CSS, you can have different styles for the same type. Now, so far in our programming, we've just been using one style for the same type of element. But now in this lesson, we're going to learn how to have different styles for the same type of element using CSS classes. All right. Now, you'll want to come back to this assignment page when you're finished with this lesson. Don't forget to answer the essential question, provide 2 or 3 sentences in your answer, complete well-structured, formatted sentences. Capital letters, periods, commas, all that good stuff. All right. Answering this essential question. Okay, let's jump over to code.org and get started, shall we? So, lesson 17, I need to navigate to it. I'm in my teacher portal. You guys are looking at your dashboard through the student portal in my class. So when you navigate here, you won't see your classes until you go all the way down, right? And when you scroll down there, you're going to see CSD Unit 2 Web Development 2021. You're going to jump in, snag it, grab it, eat it for lunch. All right. Let's scroll down all the way to lesson 17. We've done a lot so far. You may have noticed that we skipped lesson 15 on team problem solving. Well, I have you working as individuals. That is why we skipped lesson 15. We went from websites for a purpose to the split out of A and B, lesson 16 on sources and research. All right, down here, lesson 17. Let's go to bubble 1. All right, our question for the day. Again, that's how can we create different styles for the same type of element? We'll discuss this as we move through this. This lesson introduces CSS classes, which allow web developers to treat groups of elements they want styled differently other than other elements of the same type. We're going to investigate and modify classes on various pages and then create our own classes and use them to better control the appearance of our own pages. And then in our new vocabulary word here, we've got CSS class. And a CSS class is an identifier that allows multiple elements in an HTML document to be styled in the same way. And we will jump more into this definition as we move along and learn more about it. All right, let's continue. Let's take a look on Bubble 2 at this sample website and discuss what same elements have a different look to them. So right here, this is most likely, I can't see the code for this, but I can guesstimate with an educated guess as to what they're doing here. So this would be their H1 tag. They've got a paragraph here that's all black and italicized. Right here, it looks like an H2 header, and they have a text decoration underline underneath that, and it's more of a shade of blue, a certain shade of bluish green, grayish kind of color. And then right here, we've got a couple little paragraph tags in their own font separated out here, giving correct attribution to this picture here. All right. Notice the picture has a border around it, and they did a border radius, giving it those curved edges there. On this part, I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Right? Martin Luther King Jr. made that speech, the I Have a Dream speech. Down here, we've got JFK's inaugural address. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Right? There's my impersonation of JFK. And then, John F. Kennedy, for those of you in the back, right? Former president of the United States. While he was president, he was a man on a mission to get us to the moon, right? That's, I think, what he is best known for. House divided speech, Abraham Lincoln. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently, half slave and half free. I do not expect the union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall, but I do expect it will cease to be divided. So, all these three great speeches here. Notice that each part of this is in a different color. So these are the same image elements, right? These are the same H2 elements. These are the same paragraph elements as this paragraph here and this paragraph here. So how did they get all of them to be different colors? How did they get them to be different fonts, different sizes? How'd they do that? Well, they did it with CSS classes. Let's click this back button. Continue. And we're going to be looking at how we can change our elements using CSS classes. Using classes. This waterfall page uses classes to make the images at the top of the page a different style from the images in the main part of the page. Find the CSS rule set in the CSS file that makes the images at the top smaller than the ones on the main part of the page. All right, so we've got these top images here, and then we've got these main images here that are bigger. So these top images are all itty bitty little waterfalls. I mean, they're the world's biggest waterfalls, but in these pictures, they're itty bitty little waterfalls. All right, and then down here, we've got the same image, the same exact image, but it's bigger. This image again, right here, but it's bigger. This image here, right here, but it's bigger. This image here, down here, but it's bigger. How'd they do that? How did they do that? All right, down here. In the code, let's look at our HTML. And let's find the image tags. Let's see. Okay, so right here, we've got image, class, top image. And then the rest of it, right? Source equals angelfalls.jpeg, JPEG. Right there's that file. You can click on it and see what that looks like. Back to our HTML page, still looking at this. And then they have the alt attribution where they're saying what that is in case the website's not working properly. And then again, on the same line here, another image, putting this one here, this one here, this one here, right? Image, class, top image, right? That class top image part is telling the computer that, hey, all of these pictures that I'm putting in right now, they're in the same class. So when I am influencing what the size of those pictures and what I want them to have rounded edges, so on and so forth, then if I go to my style sheet, you're going to see the top image class. That same name string, top top-img. If I go to index.html, top-img. Back to the style sheet. And notice that this period is here. That's telling the computer to communicate back and forth between index and the style sheet. And as they do communicate, this period is like, hey, this is a class, not an element. And then here you have another dot main image. So let's go back to our index.html, and we can find the main image class being used here, right? And the paragraph with it, class main image again, paragraph with it, h6 header. That's, let's see, what are we talking about? Kone Fafing Falls. I don't know how to pronounce that. I probably just completely butchered that. Sorry. And we have the image, that header, this text here, this text here. So you've got these paragraph tags. You've got the H6 header is this part right here, giving attribution. So they've got their Creative Commons licensing agreement and telling where they who the picture is by, where they found it, so on and so forth. Let's go back to the style sheet and look at the top image. The rule set says that the height needs to be 50 pixels tall. If I change that number, 400 pixels tall, it changes all of those pictures to 400 pixels tall. 40 pixels makes it little. 10 pixels is itty bitty. 50 pixels was its original, so we'll leave it there. The border radius at 5 pixels, that's this rounded edge. So if I change that to like 40, now it's very rounded, right? But just 5 pixels where it was just gives it that little bit of a rounded edge, stylizes a little bit. And then a margin of 10 pixels, I believe what that does, let's test it. I believe what that does is determines the distance it will be from the next object. So if I say 40 pixels, it'll spread them out. If I say 10 pixels, it does that. You can play with those numbers, and that will determine where those pictures are in that line. All right, for the main images, these down here, we're telling them they can be 200 pixels wide, and I can mess with that number, right? And it will net different results depending on the number of pixels wide I tell it to be. And then it's said to float left. If I say float right, now it's on the right-hand side of the text. If I say float left, where it was originally, it's on the left side of the text. What other float options are there? Let's see. Float, inherit, left, none, and right. I'll leave it at left. And then margin right, 20 pixels, that's telling it how far over this text needs to be. So if I take out that 20, now that text is like squeezed up against the picture, and that doesn't look very good. So you can use that number there on margin right to determine how big of a gap you want to leave there. And then for border radius, that is that rounded edge. So if I change that 20 to a 60, you can really see the difference. 5, just barely rounded, and we'll Control Z back to the original number there, 20. So now you see how that works. Now it says, do this. The second part of it, add a new rule to one of the classes and check to see that it only affects the images in that class. So let's add borders to these up here. Border style. You can click it. It'll add your colon space for you. We'll do solid. And see, it adds that solid border around those pictures. Don't forget your semicolon. And then down here, I'm going to do the same thing just for fun. Border style, colon, solid, semicolon. Whoops, solid L, solid. There we go. Now these have a border, all of them. Now we're picking up what Mr. Decker's dropping. We're learning some HTML and CSS. We're figuring out how to be programmers and be successful in the real world. All right, the 4 humors. This page describes the 4 humors, but only one of them is styled with a special class. Do this. Look through the code to see how the Sanguine class works. All right. Add a new class for one of the other humors. Add the class and rule set in the style.css file, and add elements to the class in the index.html file. Good gravy. Okay. So let's look through the style sheet, or let's look through the code to see how Sanguine class works. So here's the Sanguine class. And it looks like it gets used a few times in a few different elements there. It gets used for this image on line 9, which I guess is this guy. It gets used for the H2 header right there. And gets used again for this paragraph tag right here. Notice that when it gets used in a, like the H2 tag here, within that open H2 tag and outside of where you are putting the text, this is where you're putting the class equals, in quotation marks, Sanguine, right? Inside that open H2 tag with the less than symbol and greater than symbol closing that in. Okay. So let's go look at the style sheet, and we should have a dot Sanguine, and we do, and the rules for all 3 of those elements then are border color, or border solid 3 pixels, border color dark red, color dark red for the font, I guess, and the font color, and then the font family is cursive. That's what that, I know it doesn't look like cursive, it looks like print, but that's cursive. Okay, and then let's go back over here. It said add the class and rule set in the style.css file. Oh, I see. I forgot to read this part. Add a new class for one of the humors. Okay, so we've got Sanguine there. Let's do choleric here, or choleric, or however you pronounce that name. So we've got Sanguine here. We'll just call it dot choleric. So let's go over to the style sheet. Put your cursor at the end of line 22. After that end curly brace, enter down twice, dot choleric, space, and then put in your curly braces and leave some room in between by hitting your enter key so that you've got room to put your rule set in there. All right, so I'm going to just kind of copy this. So I'm going to Control C to copy that after highlighting it, and Control V it right there. Now you'll see that this hasn't changed yet. It's because we haven't named those classes here. So let's go over here. So inside, let's see, where does choleric start? Right here. Okay. So inside this image tag, I'm going to space after the word image, class, click class, equals, and it gives you the quotation marks if you click that from the dropdown. And we're going to say choleric there. And now this picture has the red border. We're going to change what the rule set makes it do, but first let's put in the class. So inside that H2 tag, space, class, click it, color. See how this is working? And then inside this paragraph tag, space, class, click it, type color. See how that's working? Now it looks the same as that up there. So now let's head back over to the style sheet and tell it to look different. So we'll keep the border style the same at solid and 3 pixels. We're going to change the color though. So let's put our cursor at the end of that line. Go all the way back, start taking out color, type your R, click border color, and then it will give you this menu to choose your color. I'm going to go with chocolate, semicolon, and it changes that color. And then I'm going to use chocolate for my color here. And that's the changes I'm going to make. Refresh and update. Good. All right, moving on. Is that all it wanted us to do? Add a new class for one of the humors. Add elements to the class in the index.html file. All right, yeah, we've done it. All right, let's move on. Finish. We're on bubble 5. And it looks like we've got a couple of activities here to choose from. We'll do both. We'll practice some new skills here. Using classes, your favorite month, okay? Your favorite month. This page lists information on the different months of the year. Do this. Create a class for your favorite month so that it looks different from the others. Use at least 3 properties in the CSS rule set. All right, I'll probably have to read that again to make sure that I understand what it's asking me to do. This page lists information on the different months of the year. Okay, I see that. Months of the year, paragraph. Here's the H2 header, another H2 header, so on and so forth for all 12 of our months of the year. And then if I go down a little bit, create a class for your favorite month so that it looks different from the others. Use at least 3 properties in the CSS rule set. We can totes do that. All right. So you choose your month. I'm choosing February because that's when my birthday is. And I'm going to make it purple because my birthstone is purple. So cursor at the end of line 9, enter down twice. Let's make a class list called February. And again, I repeat, you can choose the month, the colors, the rule sets that you use. I'm doing February on my own just to model what's good and what's what. All right, so .February for my, and I'm making sure that I spelled that right because February is the weirdest month in terms of spelling. It's like the Wednesday of months. All right. And back over here, I'm going to add my class information to it. So space inside that open H2 class, whoop, equals. Why isn't this working right now? No, I'm not in the wrong spot. On my style sheet, I've got February added here. Maybe it wants me to have some rules in here first before it'll take it. Let's find out. So .February, we're going to add some rules here. So we'll say color. I said we'd go with purple, right? All the way down. Well, we'll just say purple then. I'm just going to type purple. Boop. Okay. And we're not going to see it change yet because we haven't done anything in terms of communicating to the computer that we want this class used anywhere yet. Color purple. I'm going to give it a border style. Solid. And border radius of of 10px. Whoop. Typing into outer space apparently. 10px. There we go. And border color. Purple as well. All right. Now let's go back over here. Class equals. Well, there we go. Now it's updating down here. You can see that my H2 tag has the border around it, and I'm going to teach you how to give that a width as well. And then the paragraph, space, class. Now it's letting me do that part, February. There we go. And now my text is purple, and it's got the rounded edges. And then in my style sheet, I can tell it to have a background color of, let's see, aqua. Ooh, that's kind of ugly, gotta say. Not a big fan of the aqua there. Background color. Let's see, we'll go with something that will work. Current color is just white or nothing. Dark sea green, turquoise. That's a little bit better. We'll leave it at that. There's February, right? Got my rule set for it. And I can do an alignment. So text align center. So you can change that up. I could align it left, align it right, and you can see the difference that that makes. And then let's see, what else can I show you guys on this? And notice, right, this rule set is only applying to February because we did this CSS class thing over here. If I applied that class, let's say, let me copy this, copied, Control C, Control V. Now January looks like that, but I don't want January to look the same. So only applying it to February like they've asked there. You can play around with the different options, but pretty cool stuff. All right, finish. B, debug classes. All right, we got some debugging to do. Digging into those standards. All right, debug the 4 seasons. This page has a separate class for each of the 4 seasons, but the autumn class isn't working. All right, so we need to figure out why. Do this. Find the bug in the autumn class and fix the code so that the class makes the text a dark red. So let's go down to autumn. All right. So let's figure out how we can get this text to be dark red. Class equals autumns. Let's go to the style sheet. Winter, spring. Ah, I think I already found it. It's misspelled. It was A-T-A-U-T-U-N-M, and it needs to be M-N, and that fixes it. See, now this text is red. Well, that was easy. It was just a small little misspelling there. Just a small little misunderstanding. All right. Level 6. This page has several different haikus. And if you don't know, haikus are little 3-line poems where the first line is 5 syllables, the second line is 7 syllables, and the third line is 5 syllables again. So we can count those off. This is a haiku. That's 5 syllables. It serves as an example. That's 7 syllables. And I hope it helps you. 5 syllables again. See there? Okay. Learning all kinds of stuff in computer science. Learning about pictures and art and presidents and Cool stuff. All right. Do this. Choose one haiku and give it a special look by creating a class for its paragraph and heading tags. Use at least 3 CSS properties. All right, let's choose a haiku. The graceful bird deserves better. Sushi. Let's make more room so we can see clouds. A gift. I like axolotls. These guys are cool. Let's do a rule set for him. Let's see. Where is he? Deserves better. Right here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 elements to influence with this class. So I'm going to call this class over here. Let's go down to the very bottom and add this class rule set. And I'm going to call this .axolotl. Is that spelled right? Axolotl. Okay. I did not spell it right. This is also a spelling class in case anybody needed that, like me. Okay, there we go. Axolotl, spelled correctly. Weirdly, but correctly. Okay, so looking for what we're changing there. And let's add some rules for this. So axolotl, let's change the text color. Let's change the font family first. We'll just go real weird with it. Fantasy. Did that change much about it? It looks kind of the same, doesn't it? I said I wanted to go real weird, and we didn't do it. So let's do it. Monospace. What does that do? Oh, because I haven't. Ding dang. Okay, back over here. I forgot. You know what I did wrong. Class equals, in quotation marks, axolotl. All right, so now, yep, it's different now. Okay, and then in the paragraph tag, class equals, in quotation marks, axolotl. And now that I've typed it twice, I don't want to type it again, so I'm going to Control C. Make sure I'm put it in the right spot, Control V. Make sure I put it in the right spot, space, Control V. Now that rule set is applied to all of this. So yeah, okay. Now let's go over here into the style sheet and start really adding to this rule set. All right, let's see. Font size. Let's just make it way bigger, 40px. See, I'm just having fun. Okay, just showing you that you can change stuff here. All right, and then border, sure, why not? Solid, or border style, sorry. See if everything's working. Yep. Okay, and let's change the font color. And that might change the border color as well. We'll find out to just black. Just make sure that it's working. What? Oh, I see my error. There, fix it. There it goes. Cool, it's all working. Yay. All right. So there you go. Choose one, making sure we did everything. Use at least 3. We used 4. We're good. Finish. All right, bubble 7. We've got one challenge this time. Choose from the following activities. Individual ads. Learn how to use the ID attribute to give a style to a single element. All right. You can also use the ID attribute to single out just one element for a rule set. do this. Look at the image element with the image ID equals notes. Okay, let's see. Image ID equals notes. Here we go. Found that. And notice the ID attribute. I see that right there. In style.css, look at the rule set with the pound notes, the selector. Okay, where's the rule set? Where's the notes? There it is. Notice how it uses a pound sign instead of a period. Add a new image into the page from the available files and give it its own style. All right. Interesting. So back over here, what images we're using? Notes. We got extra notes. Extra notes 3. High brass. Is that being? It's being used right there. Percussion. Is that being used anywhere? Down here. Resume music is already being used up here. Extra notes 1. I don't think is being used, but what is that? Okay. Notes 3, notes 2. Notes 2 looks pretty out there. Let's use notes 2 somewhere. Let's just put it at the very, very bottom. So back to our index page. Boop, boop. Make some room. Let's make our image tag. Image src equals extra notes 2 space alt equals colorful musical notes, and end that tag, and it should show up. There it is. All right, so let's see. So I'm going to call this notes 2. Keeping it simple. All right. And in here, I'm going to float left. Let's see if it did it. Not yet, because over here, I've got to add that to it. So ID notes 2. Refresh. Now it's over on the left. Good. It works. All right. It wants me to add its own style. So floated it left. It's going to be hard to make it look like it's rounded, right? I don't know. Or is that border always going to be there? Let's see. Let's say border style. And let's get creative with that this time. Let's do dotted. So now you've got that dotted border around it. Let's do a border radius and change that to 20 px. Maybe more. Let's do like 60 px. Even more. 90. Let's see if we can get a circle. 120. There we go. 120 puts a circle around it. That's cool. I like it. Okay. So I am satisfied with that. So now you know how these rule sets work with CSS classes. You can go into free play if you want, but not required. I hope you had as good a time as I did. See you guys.